Hi everyone. I thought I'd make a video today explaining what we're going to do in the next 2 weeks in science. And we're going to look at plants. Plants are absolutely fascinating, and we're going to look at them from the seed, growing up into a plant, looking at the leaves, the petals, how they reproduce, and how animals fit into it. I'm going to start with this video, and the first question I want you to have a think about is, how does the seed know which way is down? It's growing its first root into the soil right now. How does it know which way is down? It's a big question. And notice it's got these subroots growing out to the side of it as well. This allows it to get nutrients and water from the soil. And she starts pushing up. After a week, it's going to come out of the ground. It spends its first week below the ground. It comes out to get some sunlight. Plants do something called photosynthesis, which turns sunlight into energy and food that the plants can use. It's wiggling around, trying to stabilize itself, trying to find where the best sunlight is. And the leaves are actually going to move around throughout the day to try and track the sun and find that sunlight. It's moving around. It's sped up, but it looks very much alive. This is proof that plants are living things. Very cool. And it's going to keep growing and keep growing new leaves as it gets more and more energy from that sun. Cool. Today we're actually going to look at flowers. So what I want you to do is get out your notebooks and copy these notes down into your notebooks. Flowering plants are found everywhere. Flowers are the sex organs of these plants. A flower contains both the male and female reproductive organs. So this is what makes plants different from animals. Animals they're either male or female, and some animals can actually change between, but plants are both at once. The male organ is called the stamen. The stamen is a long filament with an anther at the top of it. The anther makes pollen. This is what a lot of people are allergic to. Pollen goes into the air and people have allergic reactions to pollen. Pollen is the plant's sex cells. You can see it here. This white bit is called the filament, and then we have the anther at the top. The anther is covered in this fuzzy stuff called pollen. What pollen does is its job is to get all over animals like bees and hummingbirds. Animals which go to the plants to drink the nectar get covered in pollen. This is the job, because then the bee or the bird is going to go to a different plant and pollinate it. It's going to transfer pollen from one plant to the other. So let's copy down these notes into our books. The second lot of notes for today is this. This is all the writing we have to do. The female reproductive organ is called the pistil. It has a sticky, sugary coated stigma which catches the pollen. We're going to see it right here. That's it. We have these anthers on the outside. Those are the anthers. And right in the middle, you can see there's the stigma. So this is the female sex organ of the plant. The stigma is very sticky, so it catches pollen, and it sits on top of a long style. At the base of this is the plant's ovary, and the ovary makes these ovules, and when these ovules are fertilized by the pollen, you make seeds. I'll repeat that. The plant makes ovules at the very base of the plant, and when these ovules get met by pollen from a different plant, seeds are made. Many types of flowers need to attract insects and birds, like these ones. Need to attract these to help them transfer pollen. I spelled that wrong. To help them transfer pollen from one plant to another. And they do this by making brightly colored petals. So most flowers have very nice petals. And they produce nectar. Nectar is a sugary liquid that animals like bees and insects absolutely love. And so they fly into the plant to drink this nectar. They're not trying to get covered in pollen, But by diving deep into the plant to get that nectar, they will get covered in pollen because this is very flaky and will stick to anything that passes it. Cool, so let's copy down these notes into our books as well. And this is a very common flower. And this is all the terms that we've seen today. We've seen the pistil, which is the female sex organ of the plant. It has a sugary coated stigma, which pollen sticks to. The stigma is high up to attract that pollen off of insects that come into the plant. It sits on top of a long style with an ovary at the bottom, and the ovary is where the ovules or the eggs are made. When the ovules meet the pollen, it makes a seed. We have petals which are brightly colored to attract insects and birds. And then we have the stamen. The stamen is the male reproductive organ. It's got a filament to get the anthers high up, and anthers is which makes and releases the pollen. Some plants release pollen to the air, and that's called auto-pollination, I think. It's where they release the pollen to the air and just hope it flies into another plant. Lots of grasses do this. Other plants put their energy into making brightly colored petals, which are to attract insects. Cool. Thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'm going to put another video for you to watch in the Google Classroom, probably better than this one, and do the Google Classroom task that's been set up for you to do by Friday. Alright, thank you.